Hi, today we're going to be talking about the Locations module. This is going to be located under the Operations tab. The Locations module is going to control two things. It's going to control the locations map and each of the individual pages for your branches. So let's take a look at these. This is the locations map. This is going to be where you can plot each of these individual branches on a map, and you can see when we click on this we have a little bit of information such as address and even the possibility of having a little thumbnail image of the branch. You can also see as we scroll down we have these tiles which represent each of the individual branches and the information that each one pertains to. So we can see Central YMCA has this contact information, it has these hours, and it has these amenities. Each of these different YMCAs could have their own microsite. There's different types of microsites, and we can see these if we click on more info. You can see this is what Central YMCA looks like. This one is using a good microsite. And you'll notice here that it doesn't have any extra navigation along the top. It's within the same style as the rest of the site. If we click on West YMCA, we'll notice that this now has an additional navigation bar that's specifically for West YMCA. And this one's called the Better Microsite. And then East YMCA, if we click on more info, you can see this looks completely different from the rest of the site. It's got its own header navigation, it's got its own header, it's got its own slideshow, some tiles, and some events, and everything else. This is a much more robust microsite. So let's take a look at how we edit all of this using the Locations module. First off, you'll notice that we have 3 items in here, one for each of the individual branches. Each of these have their own categories. So West Branch goes to West YMCA, Central Branch goes to Central YMCA, and East Branch goes to East YMCA. Let's go ahead and edit Central. From here, you'll notice that we're asking for a few pieces of information, such as the name of the YMCA, map marker types, amenities, and so on. You can kind of see all of these different bits of information that we're asking for. And these are all these pieces of information are used to either set up the microsite and the information on the microsite, or plot those points on the map. So let's take a look at this. The name field is the actual name of the YMCA. So Central YMCA is the name. Category, you can see we have Central Branch, and typically the categories will be preset for your YMCA, so you won't need to worry about that too much other than selecting the correct one. Map marker type is allowing you to control the different types of markers. So if we switch back to the map and we click on West YMCA, we can see that this one is blue. And you can see that this has a child care label inside of the legend. We can see that Central YMCA is purple, and this has a label of camp. And then lastly, we can see that East YMCA is pink, and it has a label of branch. So you can see that you can predefine these map marker types, the color of those map marker types, and then assign each of those map marker types to the branch. So this is where you're going to be selecting that map marker type for that specific branch. Okay. Amenities is simply where you're going to be specifying which amenities this specific branch has. So for example, if we take a look at this, we can see Central YMCA has Aerobics Studio listed. And this is what we have here in amenities. If we want to add more amenities, we can type something in like, let's say they have an outdoor pool. And notice here how it says add outdoor pool. So we'll click on this. This is going to create a little tag. These tags are used to filter the different amenities, filter different listings or different facility listings by amenities. So if we click on this, we can then say we want to only see each branch that has an outdoor pool. And then we can see that Central YMCA pops up here and on the map. And then address information. This is pretty straightforward. You just enter in your address 1 and 2, your city, state, and zip, and then country. Notice here that we have a field that says accuracy, and it says address. What this is talking about is this is the level of accuracy that that address has been mapped onto this map. So we can see that this one is at 37100 Euclid Avenue in Willoughby. And so if we zoom in, we can see that this one is indeed on Euclid Avenue. There you go. So there's different versions of this. Address is the most accurate, intersection is a little bit less accurate, and then city is even farther from that. So as long as you have something here, you're going to have a map marker. Alright, and then notice here that we have this sidebar address image. Now this is getting into some of the information that's actually on the microsite. So let's click on the link for Central YMCA. So sidebar address image is this here. This is where you can specify an image to go in the sidebar. So right here is just a little picture of its location on a map. However, this might also be a picture of the front of the building. So as we scroll down, just phone number and secondary phone number. Location thumbnail. Previously on the map, we noticed that East YMCA has a thumbnail image when you click on it. That's what that's referring to. And now you'll notice that we have a few listings here that says header button text for Style 2 only. So Style 2 is what's referred to as the best microsite. So if we click on East YMCA, these two settings are only going to apply if you have the best microsite. So what we're talking about here for header button text and link is this. So there's a button here in the header, and this is where you can edit the text, that whatever this says on the button, and then the actual link that this goes to. So we can take a look at the locations list, and we can go to the East YMCA, and as we notice right here, header button text, we have a listing for Join Today, which is what this says. And then we just have a placeholder link. Now notice, as we scroll down, there is some fields for each of your social media. So we have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And so these will get populated into this. So as we scroll down here, if we click on these Connect with Us links at the bottom, you'll notice that there's different listings for West, Central, and East YMCA. And each one of these have its own social media associated with it. So this is what's it's going to get populated from these listings here. You'll also notice that if we go back to Central YMCA, you'll notice that we have Facebook and all these other social media links here in the sidebar. So they also get populated here as well. Okay, slides. What we're talking about here is just the slides inside this little slideshow on the home page, and these are going to be only for the best, or only for the good and the better microsites. The best microsite actually uses the main slideshow module. And then as we get further down here, we have location information. So this is what we're going to be talking about here. There's a little bit of information under the slideshow. So this is what's going to show up for the good microsite, but we're also going to have this for the best microsite. Best microsite's in a little bit of a different spot. You can see it's further down the page underneath the tiles. We can see it's located right here. So whatever you put into location information here is going to show up in this location. Hours of operation. This is simply where you place your hours of operation. So if we take a look at Central YMCA, we have these hours listed here in the sidebar. We have a listing for hours and pool hours, and you'll notice this is how this shows up here. Okay. Also notice that on the map page that the hours show up here as well. So you can kind of see that with each of these different areas, it's controlling multiple different sections of the site, which is kind of helpful because you remove a lot of duplicate entry. Alright, now we have this listing for hours of operation for best header only. And so what this is talking about is, if we click on East YMCA, which is the best microsite, we can see in the header there is a listing for today's hours. So you'll see that this says 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then we can click on this today link, and this if right now we just have placeholder in here, but this would take us to the hours of operation page. And you can see here is what we're talking about. So link to hours of operation page. So this is going to be a page where you can actually list out all of your different hours on a single page. Okay. Lastly, we have additional info. Additional info is going to be on the better and the good microsite. So let's take a look at the central. Actually, I think we have it on this one. So here's additional information. This is going to be just another little box in the sidebar where you're going to have another opportunity to put in some content. All right. Alright, and so now this was the main locations tab that we just covered. However, there are a few other settings that we need to go over in the locations module. So let's click on the categories tab. Notice here that this is going to be where you can add new categories simply by clicking add a new category. You can specify a name and then display type. We will set up the categories for your YMCA. A lot of the time you're going to have display types for each of those, and so that will allow for different display types to or allow for different microsites to display. Lastly, we have the setup tab. The setup tab is where you're going to control some additional settings. So first off, we have this, which is the Google API key. So the locations module has this map, and the map runs off of the Google Map API. And so when we go through the process of creating this, we would create the Google Map API account, and from that we would generate an API key, which you could then place here. You also have a general latitude and longitude of the general area. So for example, we would say, okay, let's take Central YMCA and find out what the latitude and longitude of this address is, since this is the central location. It's kind of in the middle of it. Makes more sense to do a latitude and longitude for that. Okay, and then the map marker legend and icons. This is where you can choose to include a legend on the map or not. So if we turn that off, we can see here that now the legend just disappears. And then here is where we can specify colors for each of those individual map marker types. So if we click on Association Services, we have primary and secondary, dark, medium, light, and then default red, white, and gray. One thing to note with this is even though we're not using Association Services on the legend, it's still you can still specify a color. So if we did end up specifying, let's say, a location for the Association Services, we could still have a color for that. And then we have just a checkbox to either include or exclude that specific map marker type on the legend. So now that we've selected that, Association Services shows up on the legend. All right. That concludes the training for the locations module. Thank you.